A new Netflix docuseries about Sean Diddy Combs is making headlines for its never-before-seen footage of the music mogul in the days before his arrest. Now, Combs is threatening legal action against the streamer for airing the unauthorized footage. Behind the series is Combs' longtime rap rival 50 Cent and director Alexandria Stapleton, who sat down with NBC News' Chloe Malas ahead of tonight's release.
If Sean Combs watches this, what do you think he's going to feel?
Like, wow, this is amazing. I think he's going to say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time.
In a documentary, there's a couple things I'll share with you guys on what I took away from it. But Rob, maybe share the clip on how he got access to some of the footage of the documentary. Is this the one, Rob?
Yep.
Go for it.
How did you get that footage of Diddy?
I figured most journalists would not disclose their sources.
Does he know y'all have this in the doc?
I would doubt he knows.
So when this airs, that'll be the first time that his legal team, Diddy, that everybody knows that this footage is now seeing the light of day.
Perhaps.
Combs' team firing back in a statement to NBC News, saying the Netflix so-called documentary is a shameful hit piece and that they relied on stolen footage that was never authorized for release. His team sending a cease and desist to Netflix.
Why it's coming out now is we wanted to wait, to get through all of the legal proceedings, the criminal trial, and it's four parts, and it spans over 30 years of pop culture, his life. So it took some time, to say the least, to put all of this together.
It's an important story, and you could just tell it with all the public material. You go further, you've gotten your hands on some extra new material people are going to see for the first time, including this video. Any journalist would want to know how you got it, but it is Sean Diddy Combs in the heat of this, right before the arrest for the trial we just discussed, in private moments, talking to his lawyer, cameras running.
He also underestimated that with every celebrity, you do have different claims and some are completely unfounded. But I think that some of these lawsuits, there's receipts. And there's footage and there's voice recordings. And I think that for a man, it's also very interesting, for the culture of hip hop, so many artists record themselves, and they probably, when they were, recording themselves in 2005, never saw the year 2025 and how accessible that media would be to actually make a case for things. And I think that's a big part of the gumbo of
50 Cent's latest documentary dives straight into the rise and unraveling of Diddy, landing on Netflix and instantly igniting non-stop conversation. Loaded with striking revelations, exclusive archival clips, and blunt perspectives from former insiders, the film moves at full speed, pulling viewers deep into a guarded world that was never meant to be seen, delivering a sharp, intense, and unforgettable breakdown from start to finish.
Only they can answer that question. I have my own opinion, but I wouldn't slander their name like they did mine. I wouldn't say things that I knew, you know what I mean? I believe so. I do believe so. I have proved things that I can say that will back up my claim, but this is not for the world to know about. You know what I mean? It's between me and him, and only he knows. So every time he say it didn't happen, or that's the only thing that makes this become an issue to everybody. Because you seen what I said in the Vibe article. I basically bowed out and was going to go ahead about my life. The next issue, that wasn't even the next issue, because them cowards waited about 4 issues before they got their story together. 4 issues later, half of New Yorkers commenting on me getting shot. And before, they was all like, we didn't see nothing. In the first issue, we did, Vibe viewers. Nobody seen shit. The 4th issue, when they came back with a reply, everybody knew what I did. They knew what I said. I was acting. Who gets shot 5 times in acts? Oh, I didn't get shot 5 times in their vision. I only got shot once because they found the bullet. The police found it, but now they the cops. Now they doing detective work. They found the bullet. Oh, you found the bullet, huh? So what is this other shit in me then? What was the doctors talking about? What? Can you explain these other holes in me? How I get gunpowder all over me? That insulted my intelligence. So yes, I did say Thug Life was there. Yes, I bowed out, all of that. But when they...
In the second episode of Sean Combs, The Reckoning, former Bad Boy Records staff and artists step forward to share their personal viewpoints on the era surrounding the deaths of Biggie Smalls and Tupac, clearly framed as opinions and long-held suspicions rather than confirmed facts. With commentary from voices close to that moment, The episode revisits a volatile chapter where, they claim, artists felt undervalued while the East, West hip-hop rivalry of the 1990s spiraled out of control. Their combined accounts paint a sharper, more intense picture of an industry driven by power struggles, pressure, and unresolved tensions that still echo today.
Been hearing from Greg Kading, the detective that worked on Tupac and Biggie's case in this documentary. He is the investigator that did that proffer agreement with Keefe D way back in 2008, where Keefe D alleged that Diddy tried to offer him $1 million to take out Tupac and Suge Knight. And Tupac's trial with Keefe D is coming up very soon in early 2026. And we know that Diddy's name has been dropped at least 200 times during these proceedings already.
Suge and Puff created the atmosphere for both of those guys to lose their life.
I honestly, when I look back on it, if he trusted Sean more, it would have been better. But he didn't trust him as much as the way Sean says they were best friends after he was dead. No, I didn't see that during the time we were working.
The documentary continues to deliver one stunning revelation after another, positioning itself as one of the most revealing deep dives into Diddy's public downfall so far. It claims he is currently being held at a federal facility in New Jersey, serving a 50-month sentence following a recent conviction tied to unlawful transportation charges, while also noting that a jury dismissed more severe accusations. Public focus on Diddy sharply intensified in late 2023 after a high-profile lawsuit from his former partner sparked widespread scrutiny and led to multiple additional civil filings. As the series lays out how these claims continued to build momentum, it also emphasizes that Diddy has firmly denied every allegation, keeping the controversy active and the spotlight firmly fixed on his legacy.
Diddy Combs have now sent a cease and desist letter to Netflix.
That's right. They are demanding it not release a docuseries featuring the embattled Mo.
This documentary doesn't just revisit old accusations. It injects fresh claims into the conversation, reigniting headlines and fueling a new wave of debate. The filmmakers say they obtained rare, behind-the-scenes footage recorded inside a New York hotel room just days before Diddy's arrest, captured by a videographer he personally hired. In the clips, he is shown discussing legal strategy with his attorney and responding to the relentless media storm closing in around him. Framed as a raw and unfiltered moment, the footage is presented as a close-up look at the pressure, uncertainty, and tension unfolding behind the carefully managed public image.
I'm waiting the whole time for Aubrey O'Day to reveal some major story that happened between her and Diddy. 3 episodes in, she's basically just talking about Diddy in a very general way. It isn't until the 4th episode that Aubrey reveals a witness walked in on Aubrey O'Day completely inebriated with Diddy doing things to her, as well as a second man who they refer to as a light-skinned, tall man. Details are very explicit and not anything I could share on here. This witness revealed that it was 100% Aubrey O'Day. It was really uncertain in watching Aubrey's reaction and kind of resharing this story whether or not she fully recollected the situation. He says it couldn't have been her choice to become inebriated because that was never her issue. She never really drank a whole ton. The earlier parts of this series, Aubrey does reveal these series of emails that she got from Diddy. They were all in very sexual nature, in a very sexual tone. He's basically asking her to come over and do certain things with him. It's these very domineering emails where he's basically setting the tone that he's the boss. She says that she felt very uncomfortable about those emails, and 6 months later, she was fired from.
It's highly unusual to hear such candid conversations before formal charges, as discussions like these are almost always kept behind closed doors. Yet the documentary implies that allowing a videographer into the room may have created serious legal exposure. According to the film, the presence of recording equipment raised concerns about protected communications, a point later addressed by Diddy's legal team, who told NBC News they never approved the footage for release and have no explanation for how it reached Netflix. They insist the videographer was restricted by strict confidentiality agreements and emphasize that the material was meant to remain private, not broadcast to the public, adding another tense layer to an already escalating situation.
Bad boy. We had gotten over CCNY. It looked like the coast was clear. We were renegotiating with Arista. We were about to get a step up in the money. I had 25% of the company. I didn't know why he needed to get that back from me and then give it back to me again. I didn't understand that. That's like a trick. Like, okay, here, I gave it to you, now give it back, and don't worry, I'm gonna give it right back to you. I didn't want to give it up. So he came into my office one day unexpected, him and Kenny Marsalis, they had it planned out. Kenny had the briefcase with all the stock certificates in it, and Diddy had the bat. Not like I'm gonna beat the shit out of you with the bat, but he had the bat like, man, we got to do this. This has to happen. I didn't feel I was gonna get beat down in that office, in all honesty. I got people that can jump out of the shadows in a minute. I wasn't threatened by him. What I was messed up over was the fact that I started this company with you from day zero, and now the one solid thing that you told me I had, you want to take that back and do a return to me on that at this critical time that we're renegotiating and getting a step up on the contract. When he told me it was about all of that renegotiating and that I should trust, I did, begrudgingly, angry, upset. It wasn't right. I did it. He got the stock back. I went on, tried to get over that, kept doing my job, doing what I had to do, delivering everything. And once again, I was caught up in the job. I forgot all about it. And next thing you know, we had the snafu. I was fired. And he just said, oh, okay, bye. And since he had never given me the stock back, he never said that he would pay me anything or give me anything. He just avoided me all these years. Not only did he avoid me all these years, running high and low, I went on and started working with Mary, who the three of us started out together.
This series also amplifies voices from Diddy's past, bringing in former collaborators, performers, and longtime associates who offer insider viewpoints on his rise and reach. One of those voices reflects on personal experiences from a high-pressure, creative environment, adding depth and balance to the story. These reflections sharpen the narrative, revealing the challenges and contradictions of working alongside a figure widely viewed as one of hip-hop's most dominant forces, and reinforcing the complex power dynamics that shaped that era.
With Pac's money, Pac wanted to leave, and it could be some other shit that was going on, but they still created an atmosphere for that. You understand that East Coast, West Coast bullshit. When Suge was trying to use the New York guys to, okay man, come on, let's make some sense of this shit. And have a meeting and sit down with the New York guys and ask for a representative for Puff to come on. Puff was mad. You see now why Puff was mad. Everybody know now why Puff was mad. That he didn't want nobody to come to the meeting because Suge was playing Pay Daddy. Suge was in there playing Play Daddy with Justin. It's crazy. I said, well, how you gonna be mad at Misa and the East Coast, West Coast? And now we see why he was mad. We don't know if Suge sent Puff those pictures years ago. We don't know that. But that's why Puff didn't send a representative when Zipman was asking him, man, let me represent, just let me know. Nah, man, F that. They trying to get a black distribution company, a publishing company, all that for hip hop artists and music. Puff and Jay-Z ain't gonna have shit to do with it. And look who get rewarded behind that. So, to answer your question, I think the atmosphere that they designed and made up led to what we know was the East Coast, West Coast war. And both of them had some responsibility in that.
The documentary sharpens its focus with more first-hand accounts from people once close to Diddy, including Albie, sure, who shares what he says he witnessed, and former bodyguard Roger Bonds, who recounts experiences he describes as deeply unsettling, framed strictly as personal claims. It also revisits allegations from Kirk Burroughs, a co-founder of Bad Boy Records, who says he was forced to give up his ownership stake, a moment he claims led to lasting personal damage while the label rose to global prominence, highlighting the power struggles at the core of the story.
You say Suge looks over, he sees you? He looks right at you?
Yeah, he looks at me.
Okay. When he looks over at you, and then, Tupac's busy getting shot. Evidently, the story is Tupac's trying to either get out
in the back seat or something.
Yeah, what do you see happening inside their car?
I seen a bullet going Suge's head. I thought he was dead.
So Orlando across Dre?
He leaned over on the window, we rolled down the window, pop. They would drove on my side, I would pop them. You know what I'm saying? But they was on the...
The episode explains that Kirk Burroughs later filed his own lawsuit, which was dismissed due to the passage of time, even as he continues to deal with ongoing legal struggles. It then shifts to a hard look at the historic Bad Boy, Death Row feud that reshaped hip-hop, contrasting Death Row Records, home to figures like Dr. Dre and Tupac Shakur, with Bad Boy Records, which launched the notorious B.I.G., Faith Evans, 112, and Maze. Interviewees argue the artists themselves were not driving the conflict, instead claiming industry power players, pointing directly at Sean Combs, kept tensions alive behind the scenes, echoing long-standing claims from Gene Deal that the rivalry was deliberately fueled until it spiraled out of control.
I'm not gonna go into details on that one. Keep it streets on me. I ain't gonna go into detail on that.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and read from the book.
Well, so let them buy the book then.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna read this passage. The shit was on. Tupac made an erratic move and began to reach down beneath his seat. It was the first and only time in my life that I could relate to the police command. Keep your hands where I could see them. Instead, Pac pulled out a strap, and that's when the fireworks started. One of my guys from the backseat grabbed the Glock and started busting back. The first skin Suge in the head, and I thought that mother was dead. I had heard some stories, supposedly that Suge used Tupac as a shield when the bullets started flying, but that's some bullshit. Suge was already wounded, and he was the one that got touched. As the rounds continued flying, I ducked down so I wouldn't get hit.
Basically, yeah.
The white Cadillac arm came out the back seat and started letting off.
What went through your head when you saw that?
They shot my name.
In Keepy D's 2008 proper agreement, he alleged that Diddy's friend Zip Martin is the one that gave him the weapon that was used to take out Tupac. And Keepy D told the investigator Greg Kading that Zip Martin had a special compartment to keep this weapon in his car that he drove to Las Vegas. And in this documentary, we have Greg Kading confirming that Zip Martin did drive the same type of vehicle that Keepy D alleged to Las Vegas this night. And then during this documentary, we heard from the former president of Bad Boy, Kirk Burroughs, who alleged during this time, Diddy had him hiring a whole bunch of people and getting cars to drive to Las Vegas. And he is now very curious into why Diddy wanted to do this. And he said, in his opinion, he now believes that Diddy was behind taking...
The documentary argues the label feud went far beyond music, turning into a dangerous real-world conflict tied to Bad Boy Records and Death Row Records, and places Sean Combs at the center of that web. It points to alleged connections through Eric Von Zip and Dwayne Davis, using recordings and commentary from former LAPD Detective Greg Kading to highlight Davis's account of the 1996 Las Vegas killing of Tupac Shakur. Framed strictly as personal claims and perspectives, these interviews add a final, explosive layer to the series' portrayal of how industry power, street ties, and unresolved rivalries collided.
There was the rumor that after Pac got Puffy gave Zip $1 million that was supposed to be handed over, and Zip ended up keeping it. And I remember when I interviewed TK Kirkland, who was actually roommates with Zip at one point. They were that close. He actually said, yeah.
The Fed said that too.
He said that actually happened. Well, the story that has circulated was that after Tupac got, Puffy allegedly gave the money.
I heard
to Zip.
Yes.
And Zip was supposed to give the money to Keefe and them.
Yes.
But he never gave the money to him.
But thank God he never gave him the money, right? Think about it. If he gave the money, Puffy will be in prison now, money for hire. So thank God. It's just a true story. I'm not saying yes or no, but if he would have gave them the money, it'd have been for hire and Puffy would be locked up.
Davis goes on to allege that Wayne Davis says Sean Combs promised compensation to target Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight, who was riding with him at the time, but claims the payment never happened. He suggests the situation unraveled because Knight survived and because the money allegedly disappeared with Eric Bonzip, who later passed away. Presented strictly as unverified personal claims, these statements add another dark and complicated layer to the ongoing controversy surrounding Combs.
Been speaking on the situation with Biggie, how he was the one in charge of planning this London media trip for Biggie that he was supposed to be on the night that he was actually unalived. Kirk Burrows claims Diddy is the one that canceled this trip and Biggie did not want to go out to Los Angeles. And Kirk Burrows feels like Diddy should be responsible for what happened to Biggie. What Kirk Burrows alleged next is what's really chilling. He said something that we have heard alleged many times, and he said that Biggie was actually leaving Bad Boy Records shortly before he passed away. Kirk Burrows alleged that Biggie already signed the paperwork to get out from underneath Bad Boy. Then Kirk Burrows went on to allege that after Biggie passed away, Diddy came to him and told him to change the terms in the contract that Biggie signed. And he claimed that he was so calculated that he told Kirk Burrows to just switch out the middle pages. That way on the last page, Biggie's signature would still be there. That way Diddy could allegedly keep racking up money.
Burrows claims that Sean Combs pushed the notorious B.I.G., born Christopher Wallace, to travel to Los Angeles to promote his album despite serious hesitation, a decision that ended with Biggie's death in 1997. He argues that the situation placed Biggie in unnecessary danger and accuses Combs of later shaping the narrative to make the trip appear self-chosen rather than influenced behind the scenes. Framed as allegations, these statements add a heavy and controversial dimension to the long-debated story surrounding that era.
Biggie to go to LA so soon, knowing that Tupac got killed 6 months earlier.
The award show season was up. We had to go out there to participate in that. We had records that were nominated. We were a budding, launching company that already launched and we were successful. We could not go. But Biggie did have an inconvenience. He had a car accident. I think it was in Brooklyn, maybe downtown Brooklyn. He had a broken femur at that time. And he was recovering from that. Big sized person, could not really sit comfortably in a plane, not even first class, with a cast on. It was uncomfortable. He was talked into going to the LA portion of the trip so that he could be out there ahead of time. He was out in LA so there wouldn't be a big rush and bustle to get him there. So I think he was out there for a good week and a half ahead of time leading into the event. So being out there, we came to follow up and to have that night. And then he was supposed to, as per Arresta's marketing department, Arista, one of the best labels and distribution companies that you can have to back you, the legendary Clive Davis, who's backed so many artists, believed in Bad Boy so much, he put together a marketing campaign that was never seen before that campaign and still wasn't seen, but it was put together so that Biggie could receive an international press junket in London with all press from around the world meeting him that Saturday, Sunday after the Friday award show night. He was supposed to go on an international flight with me. We have the itinerary still to this day. He was supposed to leave that early morning, go to London, and we would be out there for 2 or 3 days, and then he would go back to New York and go home. Diddy called Sean P. Diddy, whatever his name was during that time, called late Friday night, early Saturday morning, saying he's not going to London. Call Arista, cancel it. You go. You represent it. You go. He's not going. He wants to stay here.
Kirk Burroughs further alleges that the relationship between Sean Combs and the notorious B.I.G. was far less close than the supportive bond often portrayed publicly, claiming they were not especially connected and that Biggie's safety was not treated as a priority. Framed as Burroughs' personal account, this perspective sharply challenges the long-standing public narrative and adds another unsettling layer to the story surrounding that era.
You have a budget for everything that you do. The budget for Big in LA for the award show ended that Friday night, Saturday morning, when a new budget started to get him from LA to London, where he would be taken care of with security, his friends, and everyone that he wanted to be with him in the style that he was accustomed to handle the press junket. When that didn't happen, that budget was never opened. The budget for LA ended, and there was a great need for security that Saturday night, and he was out without that security. The beef up. And we lost him. And in that decision, what it put us in, that decision put us in the worst situation that we could have ever been in. We lost our number one talent. We're on a West Coast where we're surrounded by enemies who told us not to be here. We really shouldn't have been there, but we were. Now we have to get out of there. At that time, I brought most of the company with me. I had a lot of interns, young people. I had to account for them with their parents. We had to get them home. That weekend, I think we had to get Sean out first. 1, 2, 3 steps in the trunk of a car, moving out the city limits to another airport on that flight out. I stayed until Sunday-ish or so, making sure all the interns, all the executives, every last one of the kids that was out there with us was back east. And then we had to make preparations for Big's family to know where he was at, for them to make preparations to bring him back home a week or so later.
In interviews, Voletta Wallace, the mother of the notorious B.I.G., has said she believes Sean Combs may have been involved in circumstances surrounding her son's death, a view she presents as her personal belief rather than proven fact. Her remarks bring a deeply emotional and haunting weight to the long-running controversy, intensifying scrutiny of events that continue to shadow Combs' legacy and making the story even more complex and unsettling.
Oh, hi, Gene. How are you?
All right, man. You know I ain't seen you since I came to your house and had that conversation with you. How you been? You all right?
I've been okay. I've been watching you on Facebook.
I'm sorry, Ms. Wallace. I'm sorry I had to do what I had to do, but you know, it is what it is.
Okay. I know you do.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Like I told you, I said if Ms. Wallace would have called me and told me to shut it down, I would have shut it down. Ms. Wallace ain't called. She knew how to get in touch with me. If Ms. Wallace didn't tell me to shut it down, I'm going to keep doing it because I respect you, Ms. Wallace.
Do what you do.
First thing I said was, Ms. Wallace, if you tell me to stop, leave Puff, stop, not to say leave Puff. If you tell me to stop doing what I'm doing, I will. She said, no, G, I'll watch you. You keep doing it. You doing a good job. You, man, listen here. Yo, I was happier than one of them boys at a Diddy party. I was so happy, man, it was crazy. Cause this was the first time I had talked to Ms. Wallace since the last time I talked to her and was telling her about Big's death.
Sean Combs has firmly rejected every allegation, and that denial now stands as his primary shield as scrutiny continues to build. If even a single claim begins to hold weight, it could crack the polished image he spent decades shaping, exposing his legacy to consequences few ever expected and leaving his reputation vulnerable under an unforgiving spotlight.
To what happened with Biggie. And Greg Kading alleged that Diddy wasn't helpful at all in the investigation into what happened to Biggie. We saw a lot of different records being put on the screen where it said he did not want to give any more info at this time, and this was at the hospital where Biggie passed away. And I also noticed this document that flashed on the screen that was from investigator Russell Poole. And Russell Poole said that he called Miss Wallace to update her on the investigation and that she was frustrated and angry that no one had been arrested for her son's unaliving. After bringing her up to date on the case and explaining our frustration with the lack of cooperation from Puppy Combs, Bad Boy Entertainment, plus Biggie's own entourage's lack of further assistance in the investigation, Miss Wallace calmed down and understood the situation. Kading said in this documentary he believed that Diddy did not cooperate with Biggie's investigation because it would have led investigators back to him with Tupac's unaliving. I always remember the saying that when you solve one of their cases, you will solve the other. And that's why I honestly can't wait until Tupac.
Could this explosive documentary open the door to new legal pressure on Sean Combs? The revelations have reignited intense debate, and now the spotlight turns to what comes next. Drop your thoughts, theories, and predictions below, and join the conversation as this high-profile saga continues to unfold under growing scrutiny.